have so much that I want to share with you guys, but first, in this video, I'm going to share our journey up until now, from when our child was 6 months old and he showed his first signs, all the way up until 3 being officially diagnosed. But before we dive into all of that, one thing that I did want to mention is that quote that you're going to see in all of our intros. You've met one person with autism. And the reason for that quote is because before our son got diagnosed, I thought that everyone who had autism showed all the same signs. And that is not the case at all. The way I compare it is you have an oak tree. The trunk of the tree is autism, and the branches are the symptoms and the traits. So no two oak trees will look exactly alike, just like no two children with autism or on the spectrum are going to have the same exact traits that my son will have. So now let's get into the fun stuff, the signs and what eventually led us into getting him diagnosed. So our son was always super advanced in his motor skills. He started crawling super early, held his head up early, and then sitting up early. So whenever he got more mobile, he would crawl over to the wall and bang the back of his head up against the wall, right around 6 months. Also during that time, he started having really bad night terrors where he would just wake up in the middle of the night screaming. So I brought those concerns up to the pediatrician. She chalked the banging his head against the wall to, it's like a sensory input. There's a sensory thing back there that some kids like to, hit. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just try to redirect that action. And the night terrors, she said that they could be hereditary, and so again, didn't really think much of it. As he continued to get older, his speech started to fall behind. He's always about 6 months behind in his speech. Then fast forward to around 18 months, I noticed that he would walk on his toes sometimes. He would line up his toys sometimes, so it wasn't always. And I brought these concerns up to the pediatrician. Again, they didn't really think much of it. He was also still behind in his speech. Moving forward, now we're hitting age 2 to 3. It wasn't until he was almost 3 that these signs became very apparent to me. He started to vocalize a little bit more, so he would only eat his food if it was the temperature it was supposed to be served at. So hot food had to be hot, cold food had to be cold. Even if he was in the middle of eating it and it got cold, I had to warm it up or else he wouldn't touch it. He wouldn't eat a banana if it was broken. So if food wasn't presented to him the way it should be, he wouldn't eat it. I noticed he started covering his ears a lot, but it wasn't at all sounds. It was at sounds that you and I would typically ignore. For example, the humming of the refrigerator really bothers him. He hates the happy birthday song. He would cover his ears and cry when people sing happy birthday. And the thing that became super apparent to me was his meltdowns. He has severe meltdowns. So, and again, this is between age 2 to 3 that it started. So I typically just thought, he's having a temper tantrum. This is what toddlers do, right? No. I'll do a whole separate video on meltdowns and how I handle them. But his meltdowns would start as temper tantrums, and then they would transform into meltdowns. The typical length of time is 15 minutes, but they would last anywhere from 15 minutes to 2.5 hours. And one of the things that I noticed triggers his meltdowns are schedule changes. For example, mornings that my husband wasn't home to see Bowden before he left, Bo would have a 2-hour meltdown. But at first I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know what was going on. And it was because Daddy wasn't there to see him. So on mornings that he wouldn't see Alec, he would have a meltdown because it was a break in his schedule, a break in routine. That's another thing I didn't know much about. I thought routines meant kids eat breakfast at this time, lunch at this time, dinner at this time, the bed, book, brush your teeth, bedtime routine. No. He is aware whenever we make a left turn to go home instead of a right turn. Used to have really bad meltdowns whenever we left church. So we were church hunting a little bit, and we were trying out all these different churches, and Bo kept having meltdowns until we found one. And I found out that it's because he would have all of these meltdowns at different churches aside from this one, because within this one, they had a schedule, they had a routine. They would sing first, story time, then play. Where the other places was kind of just a free-for-all for him. And he doesn't do well in those environments. So it's a lot. I've learned a lot. I know I'm just kind of, sorry, that's Bo. I know I'm just kind of throwing it all out there at you guys, but I'm just trying to work through it. I hope this makes sense. Back on track. I went down a little road there. Anyways, right before our son's 3-year checkup, I sent the pediatrician a novel, literally like 3 pages of all these things, and I was like, I think he's on the spectrum. She looked at it and said yes. So we had to do the consultation with her. She gave us a referral to go see a pediatric behavioral specialist. I called in January. They scheduled me in August. I was like, there is no way I can wait this long. How am I supposed to parent a child if he's on the spectrum, if he's not on the spectrum? I'm gonna go 2 totally different avenues of parenting. I called the office every single morning, and it got to the point where they anticipated my phone call. And fortunately, I was able to get him in because of a cancellation. The appointment wasn't until August. I got him in March. So whenever we went to that appointment, they asked for both parents to be there, which is good because they want both perspectives, you know, of the adult side, the parent I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm with him all the time, and then dad who works. 2 different perspectives anyways. It was a 2-hour consultation where they talked to Alec and I, and then she also observes Bowden. And after the consultation was over, she said, yes, he is on the spectrum, and she broke it down to where 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is most mild, 2 is moderate, and 3 is severe. Bowden is right in between 1 and 2. After that, she told us the therapies that he needs. He needs to see a speech therapist, occupational therapist, and ABA therapist, which is Advanced Behavioral Analysis Therapy. And then she gave us 2 official documents stating that he does have autism. So that's where we are now. Again, I know that I just unloaded a lot of information all at once. I hope that it made sense. One more thing I wanted to mention. I'm not affiliated with this. Everything that I'm sharing with you is not affiliated. So this is just a genuine mom hoping that our story and our testament can help somebody else that might be going through this or might be questioning it, because I know I looked for so many resources and I ended up with more questions than I did answers. This book is called Facing Autism by Lynn M. Hamilton. I will put it in the bio. During that 3-month waiting to get an official diagnosis, this book was amazing. I'm not a book reader. I read this book in 3 days. It is just a wealth of information. And the reason why I like her so much is because she shares the pros and cons of therapies. You know, she shares her testimony, she shares her perspective, but she also offers you the other side of the argument so you can make an informed decision on what's best for you and your family. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you could please like, comment, subscribe. This channel is going to be strictly for helping raise awareness on autism, being a comfort to other families. I know I went through the motions whenever we first got the diagnosis, but then I just remembered that God designed my child to be exactly who he is supposed to be. And it is my job as a parent to help him, just like it is for my other son. It is my job as a parent to help them overcome any challenges they may face. So please give a thumbs up if you thought this video was helpful, and give us a follow. I love you guys, and I hope that you got something out of this. Okay.